meal and anything.
I've done 1,000,000 times.
You know, just a
Center
quick
your
meal.
shot. Stand
All
by.
right. Did you get the cutaway?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Gordon, you're gonna have to translate into Spanish.
Okay.
You don't have any chairs.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Attorney Lisa Bloom, and I'm here today with my client, Detective Ysabel Villegas. Ms. Villegas will read a short prepared statement. I will read a statement as well, and then we're happy to answer questions. Ms. Villegas?
I'm Ysabel Villegas, a detective with the LAPD. I've been a faithful, exemplary employee for nearly 30 years. My file is full of commendations, and I have an unblemished record. I was previously assigned to Robbery Homicide Division. In 2013, Officer Danny Reedy pursued me, and we became involved in a consensual relationship. Reedy became abusive. Reedy took intimate photos of me without my permission. I repeatedly asked that he delete these photos. Instead, Reedy threatened to make these photos public to the LAPD to humiliate me, and ruin my career. He threatened to spread horrible rumors about me that were false. Reedy harassed me at work, and he sent these intimate photos to my work email. He also sent these photos to my coworkers. With these photos, he emotionally terrorized me. He controlled and manipulated me. When the pictures went viral, LAPD management did nothing. They didn't publish an order or notice to provide directions to the commanding officers regarding what actions to take or how to cease the proliferation of these pictures. When the rumors were rampant, they did nothing to stop them. When I came forward to Internal Affairs, I was transferred from the prestigious Robbery Homicide Division and assigned to Northeast Detective Division. I should not have been reassigned, given I was a victim. This transfer, this action, was retaliatory. Although a judge granted a 5-year domestic violence restraining order against Reedy with a firearm restriction, he is still employed and he is still receiving pay. One of the things that hurts so much is that my LAPD family has turned its back against me. To this date, I have not been contacted by phone, email, or text by any LAPD manager to offer me anything. No counseling, witness protection detail, threat assessment, or simply to check to see how I am doing. LAPD management has abandoned me. This lack of compassion shows me that LAPD doesn't care about its victims of sexual harassment or hostile work environment.
Thank you, Ysabel. My name is Attorney Lisa Bloom, and I'm very proud today to represent Detective Villegas as we take the next step in our fight for justice for her. My Bloom firm attorneys Vernon Ellicott, Franklin Ferguson, and Serena Terzian are also part of the litigation team on this case. It's not easy to be a woman in law enforcement. It is still a very male-dominated field, and too often still with a frat boy culture. Very few women make it to the top. But Detective Villegas did, through hard work and many years of commendations and doing a great job. She is the kind of detective we want in this city, that I want protecting me and my family. Unfortunately, she's now out on a stress leave, broken and humiliated because the LAPD failed and refused to protect her. On January 15th, Ms. Villegas and I and my team went to court And we won a sweeping 5-year restraining order against Officer Reedy. He is now prohibited from contacting her by any means. He is prohibited from possessing or distributing explicit photos of her, and he is prohibited from possessing a firearm, which obviously severely hampers his ability to be an LAPD officer. And yet he remains on payroll, getting full pay, and as far as we know, Internal Affairs has not gotten rid of him, as they should have by now. So the restraining order that we got is not enough. Every California employer has a legal obligation to take all reasonable steps to prevent sexual harassment of its workers, regardless of who is doing the harassing. Ysabel Villegas alleges in the complaint that we filed yesterday that she told multiple LAPD officers, including supervisors, that Officer Reedy was physically abusing her and that he was threatening to release explicit photos of her if she ended the relationship. No one investigated. No one stopped him. And so, of course, emboldened and enabled, ultimately, that's what he did. He released those photos. Revenge porn is a very sick, brutal way to humiliate someone, and that someone is almost always a woman. Her right to sexual privacy is cruelly violated. Many girls and women have said that they contemplated suicide after revenge porn photos were released, and in fact, sadly, some women and girls have committed suicide after being victims of revenge porn. I know that Detective Villegas felt very dark and very sad after this happened to her. Ysabel, I want you to know you have done nothing wrong. You have no reason to be embarrassed, and you're very brave to stand up today. And any girls and women who are watching, I hope you follow her lead, that you have nothing to be ashamed of, and you have every right to stand up for yourself, and I hope you will do that as well. So we filed this lawsuit to demand accountability, not just from Officer Reedy, but from the LAPD and the city of Los Angeles, my city. This state, California, has very strong revenge porn laws, but they are useless if they are not enforced by our own law enforcement agencies. LAPD officers are required to report known misconduct among their ranks, and they failed to do that in this case. California law strongly protects the right of sexual privacy of all of us, and yet they failed to stand up for Ysabel when she reported this wrongdoing. Is it too much to ask for the LAPD to follow the law to protect its own women officers? How can we expect the LAPD to stand for women victims if they don't stand for one of their own? In every case, witnesses are important, and if anyone watching is a witness to any of the events in this case, I hope you will reach out to me via our website, which is thebloomfirm.com. We're very proud to stand with Ysabel here today, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Detective or Lisa, why do you think the LAPD hasn't taken any action? Is there somebody standing in your way? Why do you think the lack of response?
I don't think they take women's rights seriously. I know that Detective Villegas was one of only about 10 women detectives out of 200. There's still really a glass ceiling, I think, for women at the higher echelons of the LAPD. And they're not protecting women's rights. Sexual harassment is a major impediment in a lot of industries, and clearly that's the case in law enforcement. I have several other law enforcement clients who are women who have serious problems. As I said, I think there's still very much a male-dominated frat boy culture, and people just shrug. Maybe they think these photos are funny. Maybe they think they're living in 1955, but this is really appalling.
Lisa, when you talk about supervisors who failed to act, how many people and what ranks are we talking? I mean, there's obviously reasonably people very high in the food chain that know about this. You talk about just what commands, what ranks do.
Well, all the way up to lieutenant and assistant chief. And you'll see that if you'd like to get a copy of our complaint. I think we're talking about a half a dozen people. Is it more than that? It's about a half a dozen different people, including multiple supervisors. But every LAPD officer, even rookies in the police academy, are trained that they have an immediate obligation to report misconduct if they learn about it.
Can she speak about when she first reported it? How was she treated? I mean, how did they dismiss her offhand? I mean, and how did she feel that betrayed that they weren't listening to her? Can she?
You want to talk about that?
I reported this, and since I've reported it, I've heard nothing. I've heard nothing from any LAPD manager whatsoever to ask me how I'm doing, if there's anything that they can do for me, or offer me any assistance, any resources. I've heard nothing from LAPD.
And
So
he,
you-
and he wants just to hear, he wants to know how you feel as a result of that.
I feel awful. I feel abandoned. I was a great employee for 30 years on this job. I love this job. I love LAPD, and it saddens me that they could do something like this to me.
And so you reported it, and then the photos were released anyway? Is that my understanding of what happened?
Yes.
And how long ago were the photos released? I'm wondering, I mean, is it typical for LAPD to wait a long time to file charges on something like this? Or, I mean, to go to the DA with it?
The case is being investigated by the district attorney's office.
Right, so when were the photos released, though?
I don't know exactly when they were released. I can only say that I found out about them at a certain time, but I believe they were released much earlier than they came to me when I found out about it.
It was
Isabel,
it
were
was
you ever
several
given an
months ago.
explanation as to why you were moved from RHD?
Nobody has contacted me since I was transferred. I showed up on the transfer and nobody contacted me to tell me I was on the transfer.
One more question, the emotional impact, not only of this particular officer, but of your fellow officers as well, how has that impacted you personally?
It's indescribable. It's humiliating. It's awful. It's absolutely awful that people could pass these photos around without regard to how this can make a person feel, a coworker not coming forward and reporting it.
Have any of your fellow officers come to you and expressed concern?
I've had fellow officers, yes, who have come to me and expressed concern and support, yes.
But no command staff?
No command staff. Absolutely zero command staff.
Detective, can you talk a little bit more about what it meant to be in RHD? It's obviously an elite unit, and you mentioned before, as far as I know, I can only think of one female detective up there. Just how important it was for you to get up there and then have it end this way.
RHD is a very prestigious division. They handle the most horrific cases, high-profile cases, and to end my career this way has been debilitating, to say the least. I can't even describe it. It's horrible.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you all for coming.